Alright, it's time to rank another soundtrack, and this time I'm going to be doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES. My usual protocol is to rank just the stage themes, no boss battles, ending music, opening, intro, shit like that, just to keep everything apples to apples and oranges to oranges. With Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there are a lot of repeated stages, plus the overworld screens, which I kind of looked at as, okay, maybe this is more like a map screen, but then again, you actually interact and fight with enemies and shit. It's not just like this level selection screen. So I did decide to count those as well as the side-scrolling stages, even though there aren't a lot of them. There are 3 side-scrolling stages, 2 overworld themes, and 1 underwater theme. Those are the 6 that I incorporated into this ranking, so it'll be a top 6. By the way, the numbering system that I have is just in sequence, so it's not like stage 3 is just the 3rd stage theme, 3rd side-scrolling stage theme, so it's not like the 3rd level, it's just the 3rd unique side-scrolling stage theme, so in case you're getting confused by how that works. Like always, this list is just strictly my opinion, not any more or less than anybody else's, so feel free to leave your comments on your thoughts on the soundtrack or this particular ranking. I encourage discussion and debate. So without any further ado, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Stage 3. The main riff is okay, and it's got a bit of a weird instrumentation choice for the lead, but then it kicks into gear, and the rest of the song has some pretty interesting little sequences, although none of those sections really stands out as anything special. I do like the rhythm section a lot though. The bass fucking slaps, and the drums have a really cool, creative little groove going on. But overall, it is what it is. Number 5, Overworld I. This song perfectly fits with the overhead map screens. It has a pleasant, upbeat tone, and the riffs are simple but catchy enough. It is too short. There are only 4 measures, but they aren't repetitious. There's some variety in the short time span of the loop. I mean, it's to be expected for it to be a short loop, but I do have to kind of take into consideration that it would have benefited this to have a little bit more to it. Number 4, Overworld II. So both Overworld themes have the same issue with length. Neither loop lasts all that long, although like I said, it's to be expected. And although this song has less variety and more repetition than the first Overworld theme, the material that is there is just better overall, in my opinion. The odd-timed notes in the verse are cool as hell, probably my favorite riff in the entire soundtrack. And then the next section feels like a bridge, like it's making up the gap between the verse and the refrain, but then it never happens. The refrain, I mean, it never happens. So yeah, again, it's short, but it also feels like there's a missing section. If that other section existed, this could have been a way more well-rounded song and would have very likely been closer to the top of the list than where it is. Number 3, Underwater. This song is also pretty simply arranged, but there's a lot of substance. It has a really cool little intro where it's a repeated riff that gets heavier and louder, basically building to the verse. The verse has a stuttered version of the Heroes in a Half Shell melody where it skips a few notes but maintains the root. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but that's what it sounds like to me. This is how that should be done though. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, they recycled that riff in just about every fucking song on the soundtrack. At least this is the only time you hear it, and it's an abridged version. But the coolest part of the song is the end section. It captures the intensity of the whole urgent, gotta defuse all the bombs in time, while still remaining downbeat. And then when you start running low on time, there is a really fast-paced beat that kicks in. I guess we can incorporate it into this, even though it's not technically part of the song. It's actually a whole different track, but it's worth noting. Number 2, Stage 1. These last 2 songs on the list have one thing in common, and that's energy. There's a very high level of energy in these songs, and Stage 1 particularly has very busy riffs that spaz out all over the scale. The intro riff is called back at one point during the build to the climactic end section, which is really cool. It's definitely satisfying on the ears. And even though all the riffs have that similar pattern with the notes climbing and descending like that, they're still all vastly different from each other. This song definitely does not have the problem some of the other songs on the soundtrack do of being underwritten. There's definitely a lot of meat on the bones of this song. And the same thing can be said for number 1, Stage 2. This was very tough to choose between the two of these, especially with the aforementioned high-level energy, and I do tend to gravitate toward upbeat tunes that rock your ass off, but are also melodic at the same time. Both of these last two songs fit the bill, and much like Stage 1, Stage 2 also has a lot of variety with multiple sections. But what stands out to me about Stage 2 is how each of these sections sound vastly different from each other, while in Stage 1, it was more like different variations of a particular pattern. Stage 2 seems to want to venture off, but it all ties together very nicely, and it has that very tense final stage type feel. Even if it's used in stages other than the last stage, it still has that intensity and urgency and importance behind it. So that's it for the list. Let's have a quick recap here. Number 6 was Stage 3. Number 5, Overworld 1. Number 4, Overworld 2. Number 3, Underwater. Number 2, Stage 1. And number 1, Stage 2. So, what did you think of the list? What are your rankings? What did you agree or disagree with? Feel free to leave that in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.